Hello, welcome to today's broadcast. I'm Dallisa. I am a psychic medium by trade, fifth generation. I'm a founder and CEO of a company called Spirit and Spark, and I love helping people through their personal transformations. One of the things that I love about the spiritual world is astrology and looking at the planets and the transits and seeing what's going to end up happening and helping us to really sort through the year ahead. So I'm going to play our quick intro that I made because there's going to be a series of videos in the weeks to come where we're going to be talking about 2022 and what you can expect. And so Shanna is going to be joining me in just a moment. She's a great astrologer, and I've asked her to put together a handful of things we really need to be aware of for 2022. So she's going to be popping on in just a moment, and I'm going to hear right along with you what she sees as big aspects for 2022. You ready to get started? Let's go. All right, are you ready? I'm ready. Let's do it. Shanna, welcome to today's show.
Hi, Dallisa. I love your little graphics there at the beginning. You are so creative. I love it.
I went to school in college. I was in college for public relations. I love marketing. I love being creative. And so thank you for noticing.
Yeah, that was awesome. But, I always love watching creative people at work. It's amazing. I love it. Thank you.
No, well, thank you for sharing your time, your talent with us today. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on 2022. So I'm going to toss it right to you.
Okay, so 2022 is going to be a really interesting year. We're going to have major shifts in the energy, right? So for the last 18 months, we've had the nodes transiting and eclipses happening on the axis of Gemini and Sagittarius, right? So anybody with heavy mutable energy has been really feeling this kind of shift, change, go left, and wild ride energy of eclipses. Yeah.
And question, just for everybody watching that they don't know what mutable signs are, which signs have likely been feeling this?
So the mutable signs would be Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So if you have any planets or points in those signs, you'll be feeling this the most. But now that's all going to calm down, and it's going to be the fixed signs, which have kind of been under the gun of Uranus and Saturn anyway. So the fixed signs would be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And so now with the nodes shifting at the beginning of the year into Taurus and Scorpio, it's kind of going to speed things up because Uranus is there, right? So these eclipses and the nodes, I mean, the North Node will conjunct Uranus. So that's one of the things I'll be talking about, which is really kind of interesting, but we'll get there. The big energy to start off the year, though, is actually Venus retrograde. Venus doesn't go retrograde for she goes retrograde like 1.6 years, right? So it's a little over a year and a half that she goes retrograde. She has not been retrograde in Capricorn specifically since the end of 2013 into the beginning of 2014. So she hasn't been here to go retrograde. So now she's here. She's going retrograde, and she's actually coming conjunct Pluto 3 times during her retrograde. So forward motion, she stations literally just a little bit off and then hits another conjunction, goes all the way back, trines Uranus, and goes direct. So this whole Venus retrograde is going to be very pleasant surprises, but it's also for people that have really strong Capricorn energy. This is going to, and cardinal energy, really. So anyone in the cardinal signs, which is Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So these signs are going to be affected by this specifically. And Venus is a benefic planet. Okay, so it brings relationships, it brings money. It's not going to like fall from the sky or anything like that. So please don't don't think that. I know, right? But it will bring a transformation energy with Pluto involved. Now, Pluto gets a really bad rap, and Pluto is not a malefic planet. Like, it's not a mean planet. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to bring on its own hardship or anything like that. So with a benefic planet, you're going to see people getting really deep and kind of shedding people and things out of their lives that don't serve them, that they no longer need. Maybe they've been carrying these people or these possessions or a job or a career or a reputation, right, with them, depending on where Capricorn is in your chart, for far too long. And so with Venus and Pluto here, it's going to have people getting really deep on what it is that they truly value at a core level, who they value at a core level, who's loyal, who is ride or die, right? Like, this is that kind of energy where it's ride or die friendships, relationships. It's now you're done being frivolous, and it's time to get really serious is what this energy can bring. Now, when Venus goes direct, she's going direct in a really positive trine with Uranus. So yes, Uranus and Saturn have been wreaking havoc all this year and causing us to hurry up and wait or try to make changes and come up against brick walls. But Venus is now highlighting that Uranus energy at the start of the year. And like literally she stations to go direct on January 29th. So at the end of the month, when Venus goes direct in January, you can see wild swings in possibly monetary things, right? Corporations, bigger businesses could see, upticks, but it's definitely going to be an industry shift it could be beauty industry is shifting, right? In our personal lives, this can see our big shifts in how we perceive beauty personally. Like, what do you find beautiful? Because, Venus is in Capricorn in trine with Uranus in her home sign of Taurus. Taurus is all about beauty and refinement and elegance, right? It's all about the sensory pleasures of life and what have you. So with Venus going direct in trine with Uranus, this can definitely see people deciding to make changes to their money, to their relationships, but in really positive and very profound ways. And then in February, she's going to come conjunct Pluto for the final time, a resolution point, and the final release and final letting go of any, outdated jobs, any outdated people, places, or things in our lives that we no longer need, right? So that's what's going to happen there. And I thought that was really super important to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ask the question.
Yes.
I may be echoing.
Oh, no. I don't think so. I don't hear any echo.
Yeah, sometimes StreamYard does this.
Okay.
Usually if we just give it a moment, it'll stop, but sounds like it's doing it less and less. So I'm going to keep going. So let me just check for clarification before you move on to your next thing for 2022.
Yes.
So the Venus retrograde is like happening now, January, February? Like, is it all happening between now and February? That would be my first question.
Yeah, so Venus actually goes retrograde in December. So this month, and I will get the exact date that she goes retrograde here, which is really soon, actually. Let's see. December 19th is when she stations to go retrograde.
And okay, perfect. So we're going to start getting this. You said December 19th?
Yep.
Okay, December 19th is when this all kicks off. It goes through December, January, February, kind of weaving and doing this magical dance.
Yep.
So would it be true to say then that the fixed people will be feeling this the most?
No, not necessarily. So yes, if you're specifically a Libra ascendant, sun or moon, or any personal planets like Mercury, Venus, or Mars, or Taurus, you'll definitely be feeling this, especially if you have heavy placements in those two signs, because Venus rules those two signs. In general, though, this will affect more the cardinal signs. So Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, because she's going retrograde in Capricorn.
Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and what was the other one?
Libra.
Libra, okay.
So, but people with heavy placements in Taurus or in Libra specifically will feel this more. In a general sense too, though, when Venus goes retrograde, we don't necessarily feel at our best. We kind of feel like we're less, like, especially women, we feel maybe less attractive or less pretty. We maybe feel like maybe our self-care or our primping and pressing, like with the, with the hair and the makeup and all that, kind of goes by the wayside, and we kind of don't feel like ourselves. But really it's us, that's just the energy of Venus retrograde for women in general. And it's not a fun time. I've experienced, when I knew what astrology was and I knew what was coming, I definitely was like, wow, I don't like this energy. But now I know why I feel that way sometimes.
Yeah, and how helpful, right? Like, we know it's coming, and if we're not feeling that attractive or pretty, it's like, oh, it's just the planets doing their thing. Like,
yeah, it'll pass.
Anchoring into your self-worth, self-value. I love that. Okay, what's the second thing on your list?
Okay, so in February, so I know we're only 2 months in, and this is the second thing I'm covering, but we have a huge activation going on. So the eclipse that we had, that partial lunar eclipse that we had in Taurus at 27 degrees, is being majorly activated in February. From February 6th through the 17th, we have the true node, which is what I follow. So the true node is like the actual placement of the node, right? So the north and the south node move, and they do go direct every now and again. So the nodes always go retrograde, except at certain times near eclipses when they do go direct. And even sometimes not during eclipses, they do go direct every now and again, just not that often. So at this time, the nodes hit specifically 27 degrees, and they're there for 10 days. And they do go direct at this 27 degree mark. So they're going to sit there for a little bit longer than they normally would. And on the 16th of February, we have that full moon in Leo at 27 degrees, which means both the sun and the moon are squaring where they were when we had that full moon partial eclipse.
Which was when? Like, give us the idea of when that hit so that people can think back of what was going on.
It was back in, let me see, I got to pull something up and I will give you the exact date that it happened.
I always like to know, like, when it happened, that it's being amplified again, because then I can think back, what was I doing? What was going on? What decisions were being made? And to know that it's going to come back up again.
This partial lunar eclipse happened on November 19th.
Okay.
Yeah. So what that means is that with the nodes there, this is activating that eclipse, because once we have an eclipse, that point in the zodiac is sensitized, right? So it becomes more sensitive to other planets coming over it, and maybe even if there's a retrograde over it, even more so. But there won't be at this point. But 27 degrees of Leo, full moon, squaring this November 19th eclipse that we just had. This is going to be a physical manifestation of the events that kind of were put into motion around that time. Yeah. And because it is, it's the North Node is in Taurus. This is a very physical, tangible sign. This is an Earth sign. It's the first Earth sign, really, in the zodiac. And so Taurus is all about refinement, right? It's fixed, it's about refining. You know, the cardinal energy is about, you know, action and about crisis. And then when we get to the fixed signs, it's about refining and kind of honing in on what that crisis was and making sure that things are smoothed out. Things are kind of, any excesses are taken out, and it's just refined, right? I don't know what other word to use other than that. But yeah, this is going to be interesting.
So do you see it, just checking for clarification, and I'll probably do this after everything you say. I'm trying to think of questions that the audience is asking.
Mhm.
So thinking back to mid-November, more specifically November 19th, what was going on in your life around that date that you will likely start to see or have in your life, in your presence, a physical manifestation of whatever was being activated November 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry,
All
we
right.
had a little interruption over here.
That's all right. I know my cat's like chewing on stuff down here. I'm like, oh, mercy.
Right.
Yeah. So is there anybody in particular that will feel this 27-degree hit? And I know you do readings and you can look at their natal chart and see exactly where it hit.
Right.
But is there anything, generally speaking, we should look out for?
Well, I mean, so technically what this is doing is this is creating a fixed cross in the sky. So it can be about, it can be a very dogmatic kind of energy. The fixed signs are very stubborn and they don't like change. So this could be kind of pulling teeth to get that change happening, if that makes sense. And we're going to feel fired up because it's a full moon in Leo. And of course, anytime we have a full moon in Leo, it's over the top emotions, dramatic flair to the nth degree. I know people that have moon in Leo and they are very dramatic about everything. So this is definitely going to be a very dramatic shift for everyone, that wherever this shows up in their chart, right? So, but this is definitely the fixed signs, and wherever those fall in a person's chart, this could be, you know, this could be any area of life. If they have their ascendant or descendant, midheaven, or IC in any of the fixed signs, if their 12th house, 9th house, 6th house, or 3rd house are the fixed signs, they're going to be feeling this more on a very mental plane. They're going to be feeling this as if like it's like, get out of your own head for 5 minutes and stop with the rat race, right? Because those houses are very mental. It's the thought before the action is taken. So if it is the 11th, the 8th, the 5th, or the 2nd house, this is going to be your values. This could be money. This could be what brings you passion, or what you're passionate about. This could be other people's money, and this could be your social networks and the people that you associate with, or your long-range goals. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. No, that's really helpful. I'll probably recap these briefly at the end to make sure we've got it all down. Because some people hear the astrological language and they're like, I don't even know what she just said. So I'm taking notes so that I can hopefully summarize it.
Right.
And then you can tell me if I got it right. Okay, do you want to move on to the next thing?
Yeah, so the next thing would actually be moving into the eclipses. Actually, one more thing I want to touch on. So about that same time that this eclipse activation is happening, Venus and Mars are coming conjunct on February 16th, exact at 14 degrees. Let me double check that here.
Which planets?
Venus and Mars are coming conjunct. And that only happens once every couple of years as well. Yeah, they're coming conjunct at 16 degrees of Capricorn. So she is going to, Venus will have already stationed to go direct. She's already a little bit direct momentum, and they're going to be traveling together for almost an entire month. So when Venus and Mars are together, this is a very passionate time. People, are going to be coming together for purpose, for project, for, passion, whatever that means to you, right? So it's definitely, that's going to be happening around this full moon activation and this eclipse activation. But for the next month, they're going to be traveling together until she starts to pull away and move towards the sun.
So will this be a really good time for coupling? Because it was interesting when you talked about the Venus retrograde stuff. I kept hearing divorces. And
Okay.
then you say February 16th with Venus and Mars, together, moving along with passion and togetherness. It's either reconciliation. I can't say it. People reconciling, or people finding new love.
Yes, all of that. Because one thing to kind of warn people about, when Venus is retrograde, if you do enter into a relationship, you're not seeing the person clearly. They're not who they portray themselves to be when Venus is retrograde. And so you might have kind of like a disillusionment moment when Venus goes retrograde and you're like, I did not realize you were actually this way and not this way. So there is that. If people try to separate during a Venus retrograde, chances are there will be a reconciliation once Venus goes direct. So it's not, it's unless you're a Venus retrograde person, it's not good to initiate relationships or separations. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Noted on my notes. Okay, what's up next?
All right, so what we have next will be the Taurus eclipse at 10 degrees of Taurus on April 30th. This is the first solar eclipse that we're going to have in Taurus since 9 years ago, right? So this is, 2012 to 2014 is the last time the nodes were here, but they were reversed. The South Node was in Taurus at that time. So there could be themes of, there could be some reconciliation or bringing something back that maybe you had let go of at that time. This could also be new direction in the sign of Taurus, wherever this falls in your chart. And this partial solar eclipse, it is only a partial eclipse. Like I say that like it's not a big deal. Eclipses are always big deals. But because we have total blood moon eclipses this year and only partial solar eclipses, to me, there's more of an emphasis on the finalization and the wrapping up of and the letting go of something and completion versus, brand new things coming in. This is probably something that has already started. So it's just a continuation of, and maybe a deepening of a relationship or a job or a place of living or something like that, right? Like it's about setting down those roots that you already have, not necessarily something completely new.
Beautiful. Got it.
Yep. And then on May 16th, we have that first total blood moon eclipse. And this is actually an interesting one. It is, and that first eclipse, that partial solar eclipse, I don't want to gloss over the fact that it's actually with Uranus. So whatever thing that is entering your life or continuing might get thrown a little sideways with this, just because Uranus is involved. And I mean, I could count 10 ways to Sunday what I think is going to happen with Uranus here, but chances are I'd be wrong. So
okay,
we'll leave it at that. But it is with the North Node. So this is this could be something brand new if it's not a refinement of something that's already been in your life, especially with Uranus there too. So that is a thing. But this full moon eclipse, this total blood moon eclipse, is actually in a very tight square with Saturn. So we have, the nodes are super close to this eclipse, like it's happening very, very close to this eclipse. So the nodes are squaring Saturn, the sun and the moon are squaring Saturn, and those are the only aspects that Saturn is making. So whatever is happening here, this is either going to feel like it's taken forever to come to completion, whether or not it's a project or, something going on in our lives. it's going to feel like it's taken forever to get here, or you know, it's going to take forever to release it out of our lives, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. But other than that, there's actually all kinds of trines, all kinds of sextiles, and what those are, a trine is an energy that is, you can harness it and use it. It's like the energy of Jupiter. You just have to focus on it to activate it. A sextile is working in partnership with someone, or again, it requires activation to do. So there is that, but that's the only hard energy in this, is that T-square forming to Saturn with the full moon eclipse.
Okay. Okay.
So it's good. There's going to be like hardness, but there's also going to be a lot of really nice energy as well.
Okay.
And
Beautiful.
yeah. Let's see here. Let me get back to my, and so then let's see. And then in August, August is kind of bumpy.
Okay.
So August, we have the new moon in Leo, and the new moon in Leo is not looking so nice, because this is also around the same time that the North Node comes conjunct Uranus, and Mars is there too. So Uranus, Mars, and the North Node are coming smack dab together all at the same time. So this can see, you know, Mars doesn't function very well here. Uranus doesn't function very well here in Taurus, because they're both kind of in fall and detriment, which means they're not operating to their full potential, right? They're kind of, Uranus is kind of shaking the very ground that we walk on. Like, you've noticed an uptick in earthquakes. You've probably seen on the news that there are volcanoes erupting. There are tsunamis because there are earthquakes under the ocean. So there's definitely things going on here with Uranus. Mars brings in some more of that fiery energy. So I would not be surprised if there was some type of event or eruption of some kind. And then especially with the North Node, this is a very fated karmic kind of event that can happen. And so it's probably, it's going to be very intense with Mars there, and it's going to be very disruptive with Uranus there. So whatever, you know, August, you know, the end of July, first part of August looks like it's going to be a little wild and a little tumultuous. I'm not saying like bad things are going to happen. I have a feeling that there could be like a surprise volcano erupts out of nowhere, right? And so there could be something like that.
Okay.
And that's kind of that energy. And let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, and at this time too, Saturn and Uranus are actually coming really close together. They're not going to come into an exact square like they did the 3 times this year in 2021, but they're going to be a couple of degrees off. So we're really going to feel this whole Saturn-Uranus square with Mars, with the North Node. And that's a really interesting kind of energy in and of itself, where it's like there could be really wild developments going on that seem really fated, really karmic in our lives. And we're really passionate about wanting to do the thing. And we come up against a roadblock or a hurdle that is going to take a little bit for us to move forward with.
Got it.
Yeah, and that's close to what I have. I just have the 2 more eclipses, and that's what we have for the year.
Okay, beautiful. I'll have you do those, and then I'll recap.
Okay, so then, you know, we have the Scorpio partial solar eclipse at 2 degrees. And so this is super early sign of Scorpio. So we have the sun, the moon, and Venus all conjunct at 2 degrees of Scorpio for this partial solar eclipse. So again, we have a planet that, like Venus specifically where the North Node is, she's in her detriment. She is, and I'm looking at the chart of the eclipse, so I'm sorry if I'm looking away. But they're all literally conjunct by degree, the sun, the moon, and Venus. And so this could be, it could be because it does have the square to Pluto, this could be a little more intense than it needs to be in the fall time next year. And this eclipse happens on October 25th. So with Venus here, though, there's a sense of maybe bringing something from the past into our current reality that we need to utilize. Because even though it is a south node eclipse, we have Venus here, which is the ruler of where the north node is. And so what we call that in astrology is the dispositor of the north node, because it does rule Taurus. So there's definitely some energy there of where we're going. We have to utilize a skill from the past. And this could be perception, right? Because Scorpio is a very highly perceptive sign. This could be utilizing a very calculated kind of energy, because Scorpio is a very calculating sign. It's also about safety. It's about security. It's also other people's money, other people's resources, possessions, other people's. So it could see people having to utilize maybe other people's possessions as well as their own to get something accomplished, and to let maybe something of their own go as well, because it is with the South Node. So that's that one.
Okay.
And yeah, it's not necessarily the nicest of energy, because it is also in square with Pluto, and that adds intensity. It's mitigated a little bit because Pluto rules Scorpio as the modern ruler of Scorpio. So it's offering support from Capricorn, but it's still a square. And so you're going to have conflict with it, or you're going to have kind of a rough time with it. Now, the full moon is with Uranus almost exactly. So the eclipse that is happening on November 8th is at 15 degrees of Taurus, and Uranus is at 16 degrees and it's retrograde. So it's moving towards where the moon is. So they're kind of crashing into each other at the time of this full moon eclipse. And this is a blood moon eclipse. And this is also with the North Node. And so because the nodes are so heavily involved, that's why we also get this blood moon total eclipse going on. And again, this is in square with Saturn. So, excuse me, both total lunar eclipses are in square with Saturn. So it's going to be, you're going to have to make sure all your I's are dotted, all your T's are crossed. You're going to have to make sure that you are doing your due diligence wherever this shows up for you. T-squares are not fun energy to deal with, because it's like it requires something to give, right? So there's definitely something here, especially with Saturn, where it's like you're coming up against a brick wall. You're trying to finish something, you're trying to finalize something, you're trying to let something go, but is it the right time? So there is that.
Okay, shall I try my summary?
Try your summary.
Okay. Because I know people will be watching this and they're taking notes, and so I want to make sure, I won't go into all the degrees and the planets and everything, just an overview of like the energy themes. So it starts with the Venus retrograde, and this feels like it's going to have pleasant surprises. It starts December 19th, and it goes through February. There's a resolution point in February. Yeah, it's okay. So it's December 19th with a resolution point in February. So no, it's late December, January, and part of February. It has an element of shedding people out of your lives who and what do you value, and what are you being loyal to, and what is being loyal to you. You could expect big swings with money or business. It's also going to call into focus how we see beauty in the world around us, how we may or may not see beauty within us. Things that feel outdated may be released, and watch the retrograde periods of this Venus retrograde, because you may feel less attractive, so don't give into that. Does that sum up that piece?
That sums that up perfectly.
Okay. And it's not suggested to break up or enter new relationships during the Venus retrograde, because you likely are not seeing everything clearly. So wait until this ends and concludes to do so.
Okay. Yeah, and so she goes direct. I'll give you the final date. The direct of Venus happens on February 3rd. So around like 2 or 3 days before or after that time frame, don't initiate anything. Wait until she starts moving forward. So that is when she does go direct. But there might be some pleasant surprises in store around that date as well.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Next up, we have the period. There's a few things going on in February. First, at February 6th through the 17th, we have a full moon on the 16th. You will likely see a physical manifestation of what you were working on and intending from November 19th. So look back in your notes, your calendar, what were you doing around November 19th? Because that will come into a manifestation during this time. You probably feel pretty fired up against change. It could feel dramatic. And look to see where the placement of this energy is in your chart, to see if it could be a mental thing or more of like a passion, values, money kind of situation going on. But watch those dates of the 6th through the 17th. Also on February 16th, it has a beautiful energy of being together and increasing passionate energy. Did we nail that?
Yes, that sounds pretty accurate.
Okay. Next up, we have a partial eclipse. It's been several years since we've had something similar to this energy, but even when it did come in, it was a reverse of what we're going to be feeling now. So know that you may be getting a bit of reconciliation or new direction. This hits on April 30th. You could feel an energy of completion, wrapping up, a deepening of what you've already started, or anchoring in deeper with your roots. However, with Uranus in the equation, expect swift changes and plot twists. So that's for April 30th.
Oh, yes. That is exactly April 30th.
Okay. Okay. Then we've got May 16th. We have a total blood moon eclipse. It could feel like things are taking a long time to get where you want to go, or it could feel like something you're trying to release from your life is taking forever. So there's elements of things that might feel a little bit harsh, but also things that may be pleasant. So this would be May 16th.
Yep, exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Moving right along. August. This would take place really starting late July to early August, around the new moon. There is bumpy, fiery energy, likely something that will be an event or an eruption, and it will feel fated, F-A-T-E-D, fated. So expect the energy late July to early August to be disruptive, wild, and filled with surprises.
Yes.
Yeah, and roadblocks and hurdles could also be there.
Yep.
And then we have the final fall time. We have a partial eclipse, and then we have another blood moon eclipse, full moon. So let's start with the partial eclipse, increased emotion. This is October 25th. Increased emotion, intensity. You may feel like there is a gift from the past that's coming forward for you to utilize. Perspective could be enlightened. You could feel more calculating, or want to anchor into your safety, or you'll be feeling a different sense around safety. And it could be the use of other people's things while you are utilizing their stuff rather than your own, and could be an energy of letting go.
Yes.
Yeah. kind of rough, intense. Okay.
It is.
And then finally, on November 8th, we have the full moon eclipse, blood moon, however you say that. Make sure that all of your I's and all of your T's are dotted and crossed. It is a time of due diligence. And things might feel like you have to let something go or require some sort of give or adjustment. And a question you may be asking yourself when you look at what's going on around November 8th is the timing quite right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think we did pretty good.
Yeah. You did great.
Really fast. No, that's beautiful. And I'm sure everybody has pages of notes now. So before we let you go, first, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing all of this helpful information with us as we start to get ready for 2022. I have your Instagram scrolling at the bottom of the screen. I hope everybody goes and follows you on Instagram. You post really interesting things on there. And if anybody watching is interested in what we've talked about today, definitely want to go follow her on Instagram. But where can people find you? I know we talked about a lot today, and people are probably wondering, well, how is that going to impact me or affect my chart or my life? Where can people find you to connect regarding a session?
People can find me at www.apogeeofthemoon.com. And they can find me obviously on Instagram. I also, you can email me at shanna@apogeeofthemoon.com, SHANNA @apogeeofthemoon.com. So that's where they can contact me if they have any questions or if they want to book a reading or anything like that.
Okay, one more question before we let you go today. If you had to pick one keyword to describe 2022, what would it be?
One word.
One word. Or you can pick 2 or 3, but like one keyword.
Okay. Wild ride.
Woo! Okay, I'm writing that down. You heard it. You heard it here, folks.
It's gonna be a wild ride.
Shanna. Yeah, I'll take it. No further explanation needed. I felt that when you were talking about the different parts of 2022. So, okay, big deep breath. We're doing it. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show and for everybody that tuned in. We appreciate it. Make sure you hit subscribe on Spirit and Spark TV. And we will be back soon. I know that I'll be hosting a virtual panel event where we talk about a lot of different predictions for 2022. That will be in January. Spark Plug members, you get a free ticket, so make sure you check your member portal. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.